I don't ever remember a day where we had so much to talk about, so many things to get into. And I want to get into the Jet thing first because it was troubling. It was troubling what I was watching yesterday. And Brees Hall had his worst game as a professional. That's first and foremost. The offense was just so spotty and so off rhythm and never ever found its footing whatsoever. And I'm with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not changing anything. I've been doing something since I got here through OTAs and mini camps and everything else with my snap count. And it's one of the things that I do that probably better than anybody in the history of the NFL is his snap count. And that is a weapon that needs to be used and utilized. But then again, this is also, you got to remember, this is their fourth game together. It's not like he's been here for 10, 15 years. We as fans have been watching him for that long. And he was up in Green Bay, and that was a fixture. That's everything that they did. And the fact that somebody would say, Rob Saleh.
Yeah, let's just explain this.
Changing this.
Right, so let's just explain for a second for people who might not have seen. I'm sure Jerry will play the audio. So, of course, a number of false starts yesterday, pre-snap penalties, a big storyline. So Rob Saleh, when asked about it after the game, says that maybe we have to dial back the cadence a little bit, which is basically saying that Aaron Rodgers' cadence is too complicated and too much for the team to handle, and that's the reason for pre-snap penalties. So after Saleh says that, Aaron Rodgers meets the media, and he's asked, hey, Rob Saleh just said that he might have to dial back the cadence, and that's a part of the pre-snap penalties. And Aaron Rodgers, he looks annoyed. I'm sorry, I hate to read body language, but I'm going to do it. He looks annoyed and then says, well, that's one way to do it, or we can hold guys accountable. And it felt to me watching this, and yes, we do read into a lot of things, but Aaron Rodgers wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he says a lot of things that are on his mind. It felt to me that comment from Rob Saleh really got under his skin. So I know that they've had a couple of issues. I don't believe that like push thing on the sideline was a big deal, but I do think that whole Rob Saleh Egypt thing and the unexcused absence and how he handled that probably bothered Aaron, and this comment certainly bothered Aaron. And I'm after a loss like this where it felt like the coaching was an issue, I would love to be a fly on the wall in that building, seeing the interactions between Aaron Rodgers and Rob Saleh.
Well, it's not just that. The interactions between Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, they're not on the same page either. And he basically said that after the game yesterday. Aaron didn't play great. The weather wasn't great. Bo Nix played horrifically. The defense played good enough for them to win. So I don't even want to talk about the defense. I don't want to talk about anybody. It's really the offensive players that think that they're all, Hall of Famers already. Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, looked frustrated on the field yesterday. The weather can do that to you.
Crap kicked out of him.
And by the way, and you could see he got. There's no question he got hurt. The question is how sore is he today, and is it going to be a lingering situation on his lower leg? I don't know any of that, but I can tell you, you are spot on when you're talking about how he is just basically frustrated. And I don't think he wants to answer that question after the game, especially in lieu of what Rob Saleh said. So it's another notch in the belt of frustration with the head coach. Look, I don't even think they talk to each other. I try to watch to see if I see any interactions on the sideline or anything. Nothing. I see a guy walking right past another guy. I can't imagine that. Now, I remember those days because I had those days with two coaches in particular, and it's because I didn't trust the guy, and I didn't like the guy. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. When I see Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, and I see him after the game in the post-game press conference, and again, I'm speculating here, but I'm only speculating because I've gone through it. And look, it's not just him; it's Hackett as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, all right, so there's a play, a fourth down play, 3 previous incompletions, a fourth down play. And Vance Joseph, who, by the way, used to be a wide receiver for me on one of those bad teams, and he was not a wide receiver. He was converted to a defensive back. He came in as an offensive player as the backup to Cordell Stewart, I believe, at Colorado. And his rookie year, he gave up, I think, like 220 yards to Tim Brown on a Thursday night when that coaching staff put that kid on that field as a rookie against that wide receiver. And that's when you, as a player, especially if you are a veteran player, you're like, what the F are we doing? I don't trust the decision making. I don't trust what's going on here. And I don't like post-game press conferences because the coach is going to have to answer questions that are going to upset players because he's got to say something that the media can feel at least like he's leading into something. And that's why Aaron responded the way he did yesterday. I saw a very annoyed, frustrated, and I've seen an annoyed and frustrated quarterback for the last 4 weeks, even though I thought they had gotten better over the last 3 weeks. But yesterday's post-game press conference, there is a major issue there, and they both will deny it. I guarantee it. But there is an issue there, and it's because you have this 40-year-old Hall of Fame quarterback to be dealing with a coach that I think he doesn't respect.
Wow. I mean, that is a problem that's not going away because Aaron Rodgers, I feel like at this point in his career and in his life, when he believes something and has made his mind up on something, it's not going to change. And I remember when we sat there with Rob Saleh at training camp, and I told him straight up some of the issues that I had had with him in press conferences and how he just says too much and says things that he doesn't need to say that gets him in trouble. We now have two things that have pissed off Aaron Rodgers. One, that silly unexcused absence thing when they knew forever that he wasn't going to be there. And for whatever reason, they felt like the Jets and Rob Saleh had to feel like they were in control, and it didn't seem like Aaron Rodgers was running the organization. So we're going to pretend like, hey, it's an unexcused absence and, we're in charge here. And that pissed him off. And then yesterday, there's no reason to say that. I mean, we could sit here and get on Brian Daboll and the way he handled the media, Eric Mangini back in the day, Bill Belichick, where they don't say anything. But there was no reason for Rob Saleh to essentially say that Aaron Rodgers was the problem with the pre-snap penalties because his cadence that he's been doing for his entire career, all of training camp, last year before he got hurt, and the first 3 games of the season, that was the issue.
I'm just telling you, if it's a pressure cooker in that building because everybody knows they're playing for their jobs. Everybody knows that they're coaching for their jobs. And this is what I worry. If they go out to London, because they're not going to do anything this week. They're leaving Thursday to go to London. They're not going to be doing any major shift or changes or anything. But if they go out there and they get their asses kicked by your Minnesota Vikings, and that pressure cooker is building and building and building, somebody's going to have to go to save the season. Somebody's going to have to go to save the season. If they are, and this is really comes down to Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson and Christopher Johnson understanding what's happening in their building. And if they're building, and it's amazing, if Greg Zuerlein kicks that field goal, we're probably not talking like this right now. And maybe yesterday, if they win, they all say, man, we're lucky we won that game. We didn't play well. We got to work on our snap counts. We got to work on focusing in on everything that we're doing. It would have been a totally different post-game press conference. But because they lost and Zuerlein misses the 50-yard field goal, the pressure cooker under these circumstances against a team that they should have beaten, a rookie quarterback, for God's sake.
Yeah, at home,
he couldn't even complete a pass in the first half.
Over a touchdown favorite. Yeah, I mean, he had negative passing yards.
It's unbelievable. So I'm just I don't ever want to call for anybody's job. I've been in there. I've been in the middle of all this crap, and this is the part of the business that really sucks. But there is a definite divide between quarterback and head coach, and you can sit here and you can show up tomorrow and everything's rosy, everything's great, we're all on the same page. My ass. There's no way they are. And you could see it. And it is a pressure cooker, and that pressure cooker is going to have to be relieved if they don't significantly get better and win, and they have a couple games like this, something's going to have to give to save the season.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this for years now that we would like Rob Saleh, but his leadership qualities seem to fall short. He is a guy who inspires players by dangling the contracts in front of their face. He obviously has a great defense here with the Jets, had a great defense with the 49ers, but he never felt like he was supposed to be a head coach from the second that he got here. And I was thinking about 2 other instances that we have seen in the NFL that have worked with Hall of Fame players. Peyton Manning going to the Broncos, Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers.
And both had legitimate head coaches.
Bingo.
Yes.
Bingo. And that's exactly where I was going. You had John Fox, who had been around forever and commanded respect. And you had Bruce Arians, who had been around forever, won Coaches of the Year, commanded respect. And those guys worked in conjunction with those Hall of Famers.
And don't forget that Bruce Arians actually did take some shots.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
At Tom Brady early on when they first got there.
Right. And you know what? It ended up working because they won a Super Bowl. And I don't. Now, Aaron's a more difficult person to deal with, I think, than those two guys.
Yeah, 100%. I think Aaron is, he's just too smart for his own good. I mean, and, he's older than everybody else. He's more experienced than everybody else. He has seen everything, except for, I guess, the safety blitz when it counts. But there are a lot of things that are happening. And I went back and I looked at that safety blitz, and Aaron thought that he had it, picked up. But Vance Joseph put two guys in the A gap, two stand-up linebackers in the A gap, and they brought the safety to the end of the line. And so Breece Hall steps up thinking he's going to have to pick up one of these linebackers because they're closer to Aaron Rodgers than the safety coming off the corner. And basically one of those linebackers drop out. The other linebackers picked up by the offensive line, and Breece Hall is caught in the middle of that crap when the safety's coming free.
Yeah,
so Aaron
right
Rodgers can say, "Look, we had enough guys to block him." That's one thing. To be able to actually block them the way that they had it set up, that's a whole different set of circumstances. And there was no way for Breece Hall to get out there, and it didn't seem like anybody was talking about turning the line out that way and letting Breece Hall take the linebacker in the middle. It didn't seem like that. It just seemed like Breece got caught up in the wash and was unable to get out because it happened so fast. And the fact that Aaron Rodgers got, steamrolled from behind like he didn't know it was coming, even though he says after the game we had what we thought was the right guys blocked. There's no way, because if those two linebackers come and that guy comes, he's still going to come free.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think the easy answer to that is that the team is better coached on that side of the ball than the Jets are coached on the offensive side of the ball.
You got to have an answer for it.
Yeah,
and
you got to have your guys prepared too.
And somehow, normally Aaron would change the play if he possibly could. They were thinking 7 were coming, or maybe he thought only 6 were coming, but Breece couldn't get out of the middle of the formation to get out to the end to pick up the guy on the end. If in fact that was his responsibilities, he stepped up thinking both of those linebackers were coming. He's got to assume that. And then when the snap of the ball, one of them runs out. It's like I would call it a fire zone, but it's not really a fire zone because the fire zone is the defensive lineman that drops off. And then, a safety or a linebacker is blitzing. The Steelers do that kind of crap. And so do the Ravens, for that matter. A bunch of teams do it. But Vance called the absolute perfect play on defense, and the Jets were not prepared for it on 4th down.
Yeah, I mean, and that today is the thing that the Jet fan is going to be talking about more than anything, that they feel like they at any point can be out-coached because they don't believe in Rob Saleh or Nate Hackett, and there's only so much a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers can do to spray the fragrance or the potpourri over that.
I wonder if he is out there calling his own plays, which puts an extra level of responsibility on his shoulders. I wish, I had to do.
Doesn't seem like it.
I had to do that. I did that for, I think, 3 or 4 games in 1992. Yeah, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
It's so all-encompassing because, your offensive coordinator is a guy that's supposed to understand tendencies of the opposing defense. So are you as a quarterback. You're responsible for that, and rookies don't know all of that stuff just yet. 40-year-old quarterbacks do know that. But the coordinator has got to be the reminder. He's got to be the guy that's telling the quarterback, hey, watch, this is a place for a blitz. This is why we're calling this play, or some reminder of what is happening and where you are in the game. That's why the coach is doing the coaching and the coordinating and the players doing the playing. But if they got Aaron, with 3 different plays up there and he can go to 3 different plays, he's got to read the defense. I mean, that is putting a lot, in this day and age, that's putting a lot on. I don't care who's back there. but that's putting a lot on that guy.